Okay, hi everyone, this is Mike Catrone with the HFC post-production tutorial, and basically today I'm going to be going over some of the biggest mistakes I've seen people make when editing in Final Cut Pro. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the very basic structure behind Final Cut Pro, and I'm going to act as if we just went to Dempster Hall. We're editing on a computer that a bunch of people have been editing on, and I'm going to open up Final Cut Pro, and the first thing that comes up is this message. And it seems like someone was editing a movie called Die Hard right before me. So I'm going to reset what's called the scratch disk. And the scratch disk is the key feature in Final Cut Pro that you're going to have to pay attention to every single time you open it up, because it's going to affect everything you edit, and it's going to make sure that you don't end up losing footage or losing an edit that you've worked so hard on. So I'm in the scratch disk folder, and this hard drive's missing because someone else was editing it, they unplugged their hard drive, and they're no longer using this computer. So I'm going to hit set, and I'm going to set it to my hard drive. And I've created a new folder called Awesome HFC Tutorial, and inside that new folder I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call that Scratch. And the reason I created a specific folder for the Scratch disk is because it's going to keep me a lot more organized, and you can also, because you're going to probably be editing on multiple computers, you can set your waveform cache and your thumbnail cache files to that same folder as well. And I'm going to do just that. Set it to the Scratch folder. Choose. And the one thing that I prefer to have saved on another hard drive is the autosave vault. And the reason I try to avoid saving that to my own personal hard drive is that's the hard drive where I'm editing on anyway. So if that hard drive were to die, not only would I lose all my footage, but I'm also going to lose the autosave vault. So that's because it's saved on the same hard drive. So what I like to do is I like to have my footage saved on multiple hard drives and have the autosave vault saved to a separate hard drive. So if something happens to my hard drive, if it dies, it gets dropped, I can always just go back to the autosave vault because it was on a different hard drive. So right now I'm on my personal computer, so I'm just going to keep the autosave vault saved to my internal hard drive. And once all that's set, you can hit OK. And then you can hit continue. And now Final Cut's opened up and ready to go. Okay, so I'm in my Final Cut window. And once again, I'm just going to go back to Final Cut Pro. And I'm going to go to System Settings. And once again, this is the Scratch Disk window that comes up. You want to check this every time you open up Final Cut. Even if you've been editing on the same computer, you always want to make sure that your Scratch Disk is set to the correct folder. And what the Scratch Disk actually is if you're capturing footage through tape, or if you're transcoding it from a P2 card through something like an HVX, all that's going to go to your Scratch Disk folder. So I'm going to open up my little Finder window. I have my Scratch Disk. So if I were capturing footage from an HVX or just from a mini DV tape, all that footage would wind up in the Capture Scratch folder. So now I'm going to show you why that's so important. So I'm actually going to import some footage into Final Cut. Now let's say we shot on an HVX, we just transferred the P2 cards over to our computer. So I'm actually going to go to a folder where I have some P2 cards, and basically the standard workflow that you want when transferring P2 cards is you always want to have them in separate folders, and if you have a shoot on multiple days, you'll usually want to have them in a folder labeled day 1, day 2, and have a folder for each card. So let's say this shoot was only 1 day, and I have card 2. Now, let's say you plugged in your HVX, your card pops up. You want to make sure that you copy both the contents folder and this text file that's in the P2 card. Now, the reason why that's so important is because I've seen so many people, they'll open up their P2 card, they'll just go straight to the videos folder, and all they'll do is copy these clips. Now, that would seem like it would work, but with P2 cards, it needs all this information in order to transcode it into Final Cut. If you just bring your video folders inside, you're only going to get these MXF files, which are more coded files, and you won't be able to get the actual video. So really important, always make sure you copy not just the video folder, but the entire P2 card into your hard drive before you delete anything. I've seen people lose entire scenes. I've seen people lose a bunch of stuff from their movies because they didn't copy the P2 cards correctly. And if you did that, there is some software out there that you can get to help change these files into the proper video file, but you're much better off just to copy the whole P2 card. So what I'm going to do is, in order to transcode these files into Final Cut, I'm going to go to my browser. I'm going to make a new bin. And the bins are just like folders, and I'm going to make a bin for footage. And the reason I'm making a new bin is you want to make sure you're completely organized. So I'm going to right-click this bin, and I'm going to hit Set Logging Bin. And what that does is, when your footage gets transferred into actual video files, it'll go directly in this folder, and it's just a nice little thing to keep organized. And while I'm at it, I have my sequence here, which is this timeline right here. I'm going to make a new bin. I'm just going to make a bin just for my sequences. Very basic, but it'll help you be organized, and it'll just help your editing become much easier. Okay, so now let's actually import some footage into Final Cut. So I have my footage bin set as a logging bin. So all I have to do is go to File, Log and Transfer. And I'm going to put in some files that were captured on a Panasonic HVX on a P2 card. So I have my folder, I have my P2 card folder. I'm just going to import card 2 for now. So I'm going to click Open. And as you can see, because it has that text file, it's opened up the entire card. So I can actually have all my clips here. I can view them. You can play them.
Dad, why eat apple things if they don't taste like apples? Big! I'll eat what I want! What I want! Who the fuck do you think you are? My mother? Fuck you, man! Fuck you!
So let's say that's what I wanted to import. I can actually select the clips I want to import, or just import the whole card. But for now I'm just going to import, let's say, these 3 clips. So I just held down Shift, highlighted the clips I want. I'm going to click Add Selection to Queue. I'm going to add these, and as you can see, it's taking all that data and it's actually transcoding them into real video clips that you can read. Not only can you see that the footage is in the footage bin, but if I go to my hard drive and I go inside the folder and go into the scratch disk, you can see all the clips are now transcoded into the capture scratch. And once again, it's going to be the exact same thing happening if you were to capture on either like a mini DV tape or a DVC Pro tape. It'll all go to your capture scratch folder. Now, the main reason why you always want to set it to your external hard drive is because that's where all your files are going to be editing on if you're going from computer to computer, especially if you're editing around Dempster Hall. So to show you the biggest problem that happens with not setting a scratch disk is, let's say you were editing on a computer inside Dempster and the scratch disk was set to the internal hard drive. So if you were to unplug your hard drive and go edit in your dorm or something, all your scratch files, your capture scratch files, would still be on the computer in Dempster. So if I were to delete these right now, and I went to my Final Cut window, you can see the media has been offline. And the only way to get this footage back is to find the files again. So you'd have to basically go back to your computer in Dempster Hall, find the files, and then drop them back onto your hard drive. So I'm going to go back into my trash can. I'm going to locate these clips. I'm just going to put them back in that folder for now. Scratch, and then the capture scratch. So Final Cut still has to recognize that the files are there. So to reconnect the media, all you have to do is right-click any of the clips, hit Reconnect Media, and then you can actually search one of the hard drives, and it's actually searching that exact one, so I can just hit Open and Connect. and you can see the clips back online, and you can edit with it. Now, I can also, let's say I wanted to get all of them at the same time, I knew they were all in one folder, I could right-click them, reconnect media, and I can also, if I didn't know that they were in the awesome HFC tutorial folder, I can try locating them manually, and I can either search for the name of the clip if I knew it, or just go through the different folders, and then eventually find them. All I would need to do is just reconnect one of them, and then because reconnect all files in relative path are checked, I can just hit open, connect, and it'll reconnect everything. So that's basic media management. And if you're curious why this happens, why Final Cut doesn't just all of a sudden have the files uh, in the actual Final Cut file, is the way Final Cut works is it's never really importing media. So I can delete these and I can go File, Import. I can just right click and hit Import Files. And I can import these clips. But it's actually never really importing them into Final Cut. It's basically just referencing the video files. So that's why if they're on a different hard drive or if they're on a different computer, Final Cut won't know where they are. So even if they were in the same folder, I'm just going to close these other windows. So even if we were to just move these files, even in the next folder over, Final Cut would still make the media offline because it's still looking for the files where we put them originally. So that's basically it. Final Cut's always just referencing files. It's never really importing them into the program itself. One of the main concerns, you always want to make sure everything you have is organized in one specific folder on your external hard drive. Because you want to be able to take your project folder, you'd have your Final Cut file saved in here, your music, your soundtrack, all in separate folders so that if you ever wanted to just move this folder, or just move your hard drive, or edit on various computers, you could actually technically just move this to anywhere and all your files would go with it.